Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli out here in the shop. We're on the heels of ICAST, one of the biggest fishing shows in the world, where all the new product gets released. And I wanted to give you a first up-close look at one of the coolest products coming out. And it's a bait by Berkley Power Bait called a water bug. It's called a water bug. I want you to look at it. It's really unique shape to it. Not like a lot of baits out there, and it's in two sizes. We've got a smaller guy and we've got this bigger guy right here. But it's what this bait does and how it acts in the water that's going to make you go crazy. You're going to watch this and your eyes are going to pop out because it's a truly amazing bait. You can rig this thing a lot of different ways, from Texas style to as a trailer on a jig or a vibrating jig. But my two favorite ways to rig this water bug is on a drop shot rig, and one of my favorite ways is on a Ned rig on the bottom, on a Ned head. And this thing's going to do a lot of really cool things. Let me start by just showing you some of the features of the bait. First thing you're going to see are these little arms, and these two little side arms. It's funny, they look so simple, but we really worked hard on the angle of these arms. And the angle is real important. And these arms activate the entire time this bait's in the water. Whether it's falling, whether it's stationary, or whether you're jigging it, these arms are going to provide body movement, which is real key. A lot of fish, I don't care if it's a goby or a sculpin or a shad or an alewife, they have fin movement. And those arms really are going to mimic fin movement on the body of a bait. As you go down, it's this rounded, ribbed body, but I want you to show you a real important feature. Perfectly flat bottom. Perfectly flat bottom. And on a drop shot and on a Ned rig, that's a must for me, is a flat bottom. And I want that flat bottom facing down, so when we rig it, and I'll show you, we're conscious of the flat side down. But a flat side to a bait, it's almost like a boat. It gives it a even posture. It helps it glide. It really helps it maintain a natural positioning in the water. So flat bottom, but then let's get to the back. And I really want to show you these really cool, what I call a wedge tail. Almost looks like rabbit ears. Once again, a lot of design and thought, a year of design and thought went into that, creating a tail that had subtle movement. And when you think about a drop shot or a Ned rig, you think about something that just sits there with no action whatsoever. This tail is going to give you a really natural, subtle little action. It's almost a little throb or shake. On the fall, on the drop, on the shake, on the pull, on a Ned rig, you're going to get a little motion in the back. And that's important because, again, it's real. If that's imitating a goby on the bottom, you see those gobies, and they're kind of head up, but they use their tail to kick along. A sculpin does the same thing. A little catfish, a little bluegill, the tail is always kicking. So you want a little bit of action. You don't want to overkill it, but you want a little bit of action. And last but not least, the best thing about this new water bug, this is amazing because for guys that are fans of Berkley Power Bait, you haven't had this ever, and now we've got it. The biggest feature, maybe it's best if I just throw it into the top of the tank and show you, is the water bug floats. It's a floating bait. It's a high floating bait. The material of this bait, it's soft, but it floats. Floats right back up. So now while we're in the tank, I'm going to drop, this is the bait on a Ned head, and I want to drop it and show you what it looks like on the bottom. Watch that tail. You saw that tail pulse as it hit. Look at the tail pulse as it hits. And again, because it's floating, it's going to stand up off the bottom. Look at that. It's going to stand up off the bottom. Look at that tail pulse. Now I'm going to let you see that tail in motion. Look at the tail kick. There's that subtle action that I was talking about. And that happens on the fall or on the pull or on the drop. Okay? On a Ned rig, look at that water bug. And look at those little arms that I talked about at the perfect angle. Watch those arms. Always twitching, always quivering on the bottom as it hits. Okay, so there's the water bug on a Ned rig. Now I want to show you the water bug on a drop shot. Now watch this. Remember, it floats. And the material is light enough that it even floats a 1/0 hook. That's a 1/0 VMC drop shot style hook. I've got it on a 1/8 ounce VMC weight. And look at the motion of that. And that floating nature of that drop shot is real key. Most baits on a drop shot sink to the bottom, but this one is going to stand up, stay up in the water column. Once again, watch the movement of that tail. Very subtle tail action as it swims. Okay, there it goes on a drop shot, nose hooked. Man, this is such a cool bait. You know, I'm excited about the potential of this thing because of its uniqueness, because of its action with the arms and the tail, but because it floats. And it's going to present a bait that's different than what a lot of guys are fishing. Hope you try this bait, give it a shot. Texas rig as a trailer, but especially on a drop shot or a Ned rig, this thing's going to be a killer. I'm talking about the new Berkley Power Bait Water Bug out here in the shop.